You're listening to From Fear to Love. I'm your host, Alma Lee. I'm sure you've heard it before, that everything is energy. Everything. Everything we do, everything we think, everything we feel, everything we see, the chair that I'm sitting in, the computer that I'm looking at, the notes, the paper, the window, everything in our lives is energy. Now, based upon that philosophy, is what do we do with that? What do we do with our energy? How do we manifest our lives in utilizing energy? I had a conversation with a very, very dear friend of mine. She and I go back years, back to before my daughter was born in 2008, I believe it was, when we met. She and I both were Army wives. And we gravitated toward each other because we had some mutual issues, some mutual disdain for our experiences as dependent wives. That's a whole different podcast episode right there, is the terminology that the military uses. So she and I, we sort of gravitated towards each other in that we shared a common understanding and common experiences with how we were sort of moving through life. And her frustration was built upon her expectations of what had been sort of sold to her. At any rate, she started a blog. Back then, blogs were really big, blogs on Facebook, and I guess other websites as well. But she had a blog on Facebook, and I remember specifically reading her blog, how angry it was at times, but it was always factual. It was always factual. And in the space, in the headspace that I was in back in those days, I was right there with her. I was hell on wheels. I was on board with everything that she had to say because I was experiencing it too. And so flash forward several years, we maintained our friendship, even though, we never saw each other hardly ever. The memories that pop up on Facebook, like you have memories from 5 years ago, you have memories from 8 years ago. I cringe when I read some of the garbage and the vitriol and just the toxic, negative BS that I spewed back in those days. You live and you learn, right? You learn, you grow, and you do better, which is, the fundamentals of what I'm doing now. And I have to be purely authentic, and I have to be humble to my beginnings as well. But man, I got to tell you, thinking back on my headspace and the energy by which I cultivated my headspace and the people that I kept around me in that headspace was pretty toxic. It was pretty negative back then. But, when I talk about energy now, flash forward all these years, and in my emotional healing and in my spiritual growth, there have been some, I guess you could call it just a mindset that have evolved for me. I believe that this mindset has been something that was a part of my journey from the get-go. It was something that I was always meant to embark upon. It was something that I was supposed to learn when I was supposed to learn it. And that was, whatever you put forth into the universe is what you will receive. It's karmic. It's the tennis ball against the brick wall, the imagery, the metaphor. Whatever you put forth into the universe is what will come back to you. Now let's talk about that for a moment. When I work with people, and even in my personal relationships as well, I can identify certain mindsets that are tantamount to a manifestation of negativity. What do I mean by that? I mean that people express frustration. I'm sure you've done it. Hell, I know I've done it. When you express frustration about your current condition, things that are exceedingly unfair, because life, as we all know, is unfair by design. It is not fair. But here's the thing. I can tell you, and I can tell you this based upon my experience. My life experience is where I get all of the fundamental information that I provide to you, not only in this podcast, but in my speaking engagements as well. And you can take it or leave it. It's up to you. It's all part of your journey on whether or not you choose to absorb and lean into anything that I have to say or share. That said, be mindful of your energy. Be mindful of what you're putting into the universe. So going back to the conversation that I had with my friend, I actually did a video chat with her the other day, and we were talking about a lot of our mutual experiences, the things that we experienced as Army spouses. She and I both are divorced. We're no longer attached to the Army. And she and I share a common theme with the reasons for that. And, again, when you're unhappy, when you're in a negative experience, it's really easy to lean into that negativity with your own negativity. So we were talking about that the other day, and we were sharing some, mutual points of growth in where we're at. And, I had another conversation with her recently where we were discussing putting things in social media. Well, that's the energy that I'm talking about. The things that we write into social media for other people to share. And sorry, my dog, she's moving around in here. The things that we share with you, with whoever our audience is, that's energy. And think about it from a social media standpoint. It's multiplied. It's magnified. We get a voice. We get a platform. We get a microphone or a computer. And we have all of these eyes on everything that we are putting forth into the universe. Listen, I can tell you from my own personal experience that and it's not bullshit. I'm not sitting here saying you should just, shine a lightsaber up your ass and glow for everybody. No, I mean, you got bad days for sure. But you have to make a conscious, mindful decision on whether or not you choose to, magnify that, when you choose to share that. So you get a choice. You get to decide on what you are going to put forth into the universe every day. I'm not telling you that you should mask your hardship. I'm not saying that you should mask a difficult situation. We go through hard times. Those are real things. But sharing your grief and sharing your pain is different than when you lean into negativity, which is a whole different construct. When you share your pain with someone else, that's merely what you're doing. And by design, you're not going to necessarily get pain back in a karmic fashion, but you will get empathy and compassion, because what you're doing is you're sharing your experience honestly, openly, and with humility. Now, if you adapt and adopt a mindset of negativity whereby that's what always happens in these cases. And, you can't trust this and you can't trust that and you can't do this or do that. And when you sort of get into a judgmental headspace, God, first of all, number one, I've done it. Okay. I'm not sitting here, hey, pot, let's meet kettle. Okay, I've done it. But the reason that I do this now is because I've realized how problematic it is to put forth negative, toxic energy into the universe, because that is all you are going to receive back. When you pay attention to the tone of how you're communicating, are you being judgmental? First of all, are you being unnecessarily critical of something that has caused you frustration? Just hear me out. What you put forth is what is going to continue. Let me put it that way. So if you want something to stop, you've got to reframe your mindset about how you feel about that. Okay? Let me think. What example can I use? If you feel like your job, for example. So my friend was discussing her frustration with her work environment. And she put a post on Facebook about how she couldn't believe that somebody who was supposed to be her friend lauded her out to her employer, and that she was called into the office. Yeah, hey, are you posting this on social media? Yada, 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 so on and so forth. First of all, I think that's bullshit anyway, because I don't think anybody should be able to, police what it is you're putting on social media, as long as it's not harmful, as long as you're not like making threats. If you're just voicing an opinion, I don't think that your employer should have a say in that, but that's a different podcast as well. But she was very upset about that and had reached out to me to discuss her frustration with me. And I said, well, you're a different person now than you were all those years ago, number one. Number two, you're working on your profession. Now, I'm not saying that you should change who you are as a means of keeping an audience, but I do think that you should lean more into a positive mindset. you're entitled to get pissed off. You're entitled to feel betrayed or let down or, whatever. Those feelings don't go away. That's life. But to lean into a toxic mindset or to be dysfunctional or to make assumptions that just because something happens one time, that's the way it always is, that's not helpful. That's not helpful for you or anybody else to read that. And what you're doing in essence is you are manifesting. You are literally asking the universe to keep the status quo. You are asking the universe to keep everything in that negative frame. Now, I still do it. And especially my daughter will call me out on it. She'll say, Mom, you're doing it again. I'll be like, you know what? You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. I need to adjust my thinking. And it's a practice. You got to keep up with it. You got to pay attention to it. But it works. It works. Look at me. Look at me. Look at everything that I've done. Everything that I'm doing now in my life is I believe is a testament to my mentality of being positive, my mentality of maintaining a sense of humility, a sense of accountability on top of my authenticity, and by projecting things that matter in a framework that is not judgmental. The information that I present is an opinion for the most part, but it's not a judgmental one. And it's also coming from a place of my attempt to be compassionate and empathetic. And that's who I want to be. That's how I want to present myself to the universe. And that is what I want to manifest. I want to manifest good things. And I want the people who interact with my energy to also have good and positive outcomes as well. So that's what I wanted to share with you today is you're not getting any judgment from me. Hell, if anybody knows how hard it is to keep a positive mindset, it's me. I'm notorious. Ask anybody who's known me for years. I'm notorious with being sarcastic, with being a cynic, cynical in my mindset, using humor to dissuade any situation that makes me uncomfortable. Those are all things that I'm actively growing out of and looking into more fruitful, better ways to evolve my spiritual experience here on this earth. That's really and truthfully what I'm doing here. And I do that through this conduit. I do this through the angrily show. I do this through writing, and I do this through my speaking engagements by challenging whoever it is that I'm having interaction with to pay attention to the energy that you are putting forth into the universe. What are you posting on social media? Are you judgy? Are you making assumptions? Are you judging other people? That's hard to stop doing, by the way. It is hard to stop doing that. It's so hard to see somebody out there acting a fool or doing or saying things that you don't agree with. It's hard to not express an opinion about that. Just remember that, is it helpful? Are you helping that person by expressing an opinion? Or are you expressing an opinion because their behavior triggers something that's unhealed in you that you feel compelled to sort of, argue against? Are you expressing your energy in ways that's exhausting you? You are the steward of your own well-being. You are the one person that cares the most about where you go in this life. Are you going down a positive path? Or are you going down a negative, toxic, dysfunctional path? Are you the kind of person that you want to be around? Do you have positive things to say about people, or are you always seeing the negative in others? The thing is, and there are those people, and I'm not sitting here judging anybody. I understand it. I've been there. I've experienced it myself, and I love people who act this way. But here's the thing. You have to understand why you're doing what you're doing. If you're putting negative, toxic information or opinions into the ether, into the universe through social media, by talking to people, by gossiping, by insulting, injuring, damaging, backstabbing, betraying people's confidence in you, if you're doing that, there is something in you that you need to address with regards to your own emotional healing and growth. That's all there is. That's all there is to it. There is a part of you, your inner child, that feels somewhat wounded by someone else's behavior that makes you feel somewhat unsafe. And so you sort of, rebel against that by making opinions and judgments. So I just want to call attention to that in a way that helps you look at it differently so that you can understand that, hey, you know what? Maybe I should go talk to a therapist about what I'm doing. If I'm always putting other people down, if I'm always, putting something on social media that's, the Debbie Downer, remember that episode, those episodes from Saturday Night Live, the person that never has anything positive to say, that's always looking at the negative? Are you leaning more into the mindset of the victimhood of your own experiences so that other people will cut you some slack because they see you as a victim? That's a deep, heavy statement. I get that right there. And not a lot of people are going to have the ability to pick up what I'm putting down. But the fact remains is you have an opportunity to heal if that's you. If that's you, if that's what you're doing, you have an opportunity to heal and grow from that. And it's a wonderful thing. It truly is to embark upon a newfound space, because it is difficult, because there are people in your life that are used to you acting a certain way. And when you go about changing, you trigger something that's unhealed in them. So we're all connected with other people. It just matters on what you're paying attention to. What is the tone of the information, the feedback that you're projecting out there? And what is it that you want to receive? How do you want to feel? Do you want to feel like a positive person? Do you want to become someone that people sort of, like you're a magnet, like you magnetize people with your charisma because you are a positive person, because people want to be in your space? I mean, that's the kind of person that I want to be. I don't know if I always succeed, but I definitely think I'm on the right path. I do everything that I can in my power to understand why people behave the way they do and not judge them. But at the same time, I also enforce a boundary, because not everybody's ready to heal. Not everybody's ready for change. And just because I see somebody and I understand them doesn't mean that I'm going to be in that space and allow their negative, toxic energy to affect me. I won't allow that. I won't tolerate it. I don't want that in my ether. I don't want to breathe that in and get it into my, commingling with my energy. So there's a difference between understanding and tolerating too. So keep that in mind. But you all have an opportunity to lean into a point of growth here, lean into some healing. If you feel compelled to judge everybody around you, if you see people around you that you perceive as doing better than you or are in a better financial position than you, and you feel that, the world is unjust, unfair, and you're frustrated with the fact that you're not where that person is, maybe it's your attitude. I think that's a big part of it, because again, we manifest our existence. So if you want positive outcomes, if you want abundance, if you want people in your life that gravitate toward you, give them something to gravitate toward. If you're negative all the time, nobody wants to be around that. They really don't. The only people that want to be around that are other negative people that see that as validation for their own negativity. And then what you're doing essentially is you're manifesting negativity, because that's what people are giving you. I don't want to live there. That's not me. That's not where I'm at. And I'm reminded of it every time I see a memory pop up on Facebook. It's like, ugh, did I really post that? I can't believe I posted that. I mean, I can. But, I don't go judging my former self either in that evolution. I want to do positive work. I want to encourage and inspire everybody that I interact with. I seek that. Some people are not able to be inspired. Some people are just not. I walked up to a lady at the grocery store just this morning after my doctor's appointment, and I smiled at her. And I handed my things, I put my things on the belt, and she didn't even say a peep to me. And I checked out, I put my debit card in the reader and paid for everything. She took my receipt, shoved it in the bag, and very coldly looked away from me. Have a good day. And I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, I could take offense to that and make it personal, make it about me, and I could be equally rude back to her. Or I could just assume that, maybe maybe I looked like somebody she didn't like. Maybe she was having a bad day. Maybe she got a bad phone call. Maybe, it could be a gazillion different things. But I'm not going to allow anybody to steal my sunshine. It's not up for sale. So I'm just going to continue to push forward in my path of positivity and do everything that I can to establish myself in this world as a beacon, as somebody who challenges other people to do better, which is what I want to do for you today. So what are you putting out there? How are you, what's your mindset? My mom, she's been gone now for 2 years. Bless her heart. She was just, I don't know what it was about her personality, but if I ever asked her, how you doing, Mama? Well, I reckon I could be worse. It was always there. It always had a negative spin on it. Like, I don't remember a single time her ever expressing joy or expressing any type of positive elation. And it was something that I look back now, I was really missing in my life because of that. And she needed people. She needed their sympathy for whatever reason. She needed other people to understand her from that frame of mind. And that's just not me. And I think it's unhealthy. I think that you put forth into the world what you want to receive. And you also have to enforce a boundary too, because just because, you don't want people to get your kindness confused with weakness. No, we're not doing that either. So what are you posting? What are you posting on social media? Are you being negative? Are you being judgmental? And if so, why? Just remember, you throw that tennis ball against the brick wall, you're going to get a tennis ball back. So if you put forth negative, toxic things, you talk about people, or you engage in negative, judgmental, dysfunctional conversations that have no merit or worth, and you're wasting your time talking about other people like that, that's what you're going to get back. That's really all there is to it. It's really very simple. But if you want positive, and you want abundance, and you want, positive people who gravitate toward you, and you want to live in a space of mindful gratitude, that's your power to choose. You have all the power to choose that. All right, guys, from fear to love. This has been an LBM production. Please like, subscribe, and share this show. Thanks for listening.